What is going on, guys? Gavin here, and your boy's been playing a lot of blind second Despia. I think this deck is super potent as a blind second deck and just can absolutely slaughter boards. As long as you're not playing against Flunderies, because I'm going to be honest, that's a really hard matchup for this deck. But otherwise, this deck can really put on the hurt as a going second deck. So without any further ado, let's get into it. So we're playing 3 copies of Aliber, 3 copies of Tragedy, 1 Adlib, 1 Dramaturge. Aliber is just really good to summon, either normal or special. Triple copies of Tragedy, just because it searches your other Despia monsters when it gets sent to the graveyard by card effect. So you want to open it and fuse it with it, or use it to send off of the branded opening. And then 1 Adlib for looping Mirror Jade, or whatever other fusion monster you want to summon to the field a bunch of times. And then Dramaturge just really helps you kind of crack boards going second, especially like Hulk boards that try to scythe lock you when they summon TG Wonder Magician and you have this on the field that you summoned off of the branded opening. You can negate the TG Wonder Magician that way and blow through one of your opponent's negates. Then we play 3 copies of Fallen of Albaz and 1 copy of Albion. Albaz is great in this deck as a going second card because you can either normal summon it and bait and negate that way, or just make Mirror Jade if your opponent doesn't negate this somehow, or you can set it if you open it with Super Poly and then fusion with Super Poly because they can't negate that, and just make Mirror Jade that way. Remove something, make Mirror Jade, and then Mirror Jade removes something else and get you follow up. It's so insane when that happens. It's just, you shouldn't lose games when you open this card in Super Poly. That's really the moral of the story there. 1 copy of Albion for, it's either something, you can either special summon it. It is a little bit neggy to special summon this card from your hand, but it can be done, and it will act as Fallen of Albaz while on the field, but more often than not, it's just something you can cycle while setting up your graveyard with a Fallen of Albaz to set you up for something like a branded in red play. So the card is really nice, gets you a free draw. Then we play 3 copies of King of the Swamp. The card's insane. It's 3 more copies of Fallen of Albaz, so it's just something else that you can Super Poly your opponent's stuff away with. Make Mirror Jade with this card. It's really good. Also searching Poly in case you need it can be super clutch as well. For the light monsters, 1 Ecclesia, 1 Snow, 1 Golden Lord. I love all these cards. Ecclesia, special summon it, special summon Albaz from your deck, bait and negate that way. Snow, something that obviously its graveyard effect is what it's known for, but in a pinch you can normal summon it and flip something problematic face down. Good examples of that would be the Barrier Statue that Flunderies puts up, or the Vanities that Drytron puts up. And then Eldritch can help you flip your opponent's, or not flip, but just send your opponent's stuff from field to grave, and also is a 3500 beater. So yeah, all the light monsters are great here. Also, this card gets you infinite discard fodder, which is really nice in a deck that plays a lot of discards. For the spells, 3 branded fusion. I'm not really going to explain it, just insane card. Triple copies of branded opening. Card is really good, just being able to get access to any Despia monster that you want. Also, the destruction prevention effect is insane. For the some play during your opponent's turn cards, 2 branded in red, 1 branded banishment. I like this ratio a lot. I used to try and play 3 branded in red, but having the extra diversity that this card provides is really nice, plus the fact that this card absolutely slaughters the tier limit matchup is pretty funny, so definitely like that card a lot. Then we play 1 copy of the Theater. Some people don't really like the Theater that much, but if you get your full setup going and you get your Theater on top of that, it just makes it pretty much impossible for your opponent to kind of come back from all the advantage you got on top of you breaking their board, which is really cool. Also, it's a continuous, or it's a field spell, so when you're making that last push for lethal and you have Golden Lord in graveyard, after you fusion summon with this card, you send it, summon Golden Lord, punch for 35. Then we play 2 copies of Poly. Just really solid card. Being able to fusion right from the get-go can be good sometimes. Guardian Chimera is a great going second card. Then 3 copies of Super Poly. So I'm looking for my going second cards to just trivialize games. And Super Poly is really good at doing that, especially if you open it with King of the Swamp or Fallen of Albaz. It's just insane. Like you shouldn't be losing those games. 3 copies of Dark Ruler also trivializes board states. The card just makes it so you don't have to worry about your opponent's on-field negates. So good. Then we play 3 copies of Lightning Storm. I think this card's a little underrated right now. It helps me out a lot. Very good against Flunderies. Just helps you deal with back row in the tier limits matchup, and just gets your opponent's back row out of the way. And then if they don't have back row and it's safe to just pop their whole field, then you can do that too. Then we play 2 copies of Talents. Card, says draw 2, says steal, says rip a card out of your opponent's hand. The card is just insane. Then 1 copy of Droplet, just to help us beat Scythe decks a little bit more often. It's kind of a weird one-off, but I feel like it works. And then 1 copy of Called by the Grave, just because it's Called by the Grave. For the extra deck, 2 copies of Albion, 1 copy of Lubellion, 2 copies of Mirror Jade, 1 Albalenidus, and 1 Titaniclad. So these are the Albaz fusions that we are running. Don't really feel like you need 3 Albion, because the way it works, or the way I play the deck, is if I'm using Mirror Jade's effect on my turn, I'm sending Albion. If I'm using it on my opponent's turn, I'm sending Albalenidus or Titaniclad. Unless like I really need something that isn't branded fusion, or like if I don't really need the Fallen of Albaz from my deck to get added or special summoned, like you have plenty of options with this deck. And if you are running out of Albions, you can always just use Lubellion to shuffle them back. So I felt like these ratios are pretty good. I will say the one flex spot in the extra deck is the second Mirror Jade, just because the extra deck is a little bit tight the way I play it. Then for the Despia fusions, we're playing 2 copies of Masquerade and 1 copy of Quertus. So it's not like we're going first and making double Masquerade pass. We're actually using Masquerade a lot of the times. Not saying we can't make double Masquerade pass. Like if we are forced to go first, that is something that we can do, and it's a somewhat viable strategy. But this card, usually what you do is if you don't use Dark Ruler and you're actually doing damage to your opponent, you can actually, if you don't have enough to kill them, making this card on top of the damage that you do will more likely than not be the nail in the coffin, and just make it so your opponent can't play through your stuff. So, and then Quertus is really good for going second, and just makes it hard for your opponent to push through your stuff, because it has good defense and makes it so your opponent's monster's attack will become 0. And if they do destroy it during your turn or banish it, if it leaves the field, you can summon a Despia or a Fallen of Albaz from your deck, which is just really insane. Then for the generic fusion Super Poly targets, 1 Dragostapelia, 1 Starving Venom, and 1 Garura. So these cards are all Super Poly targets, but you can also just hard make them, which is really cool. And another thing that I love about this deck, this card helps you out Ignister. This card helps you just control the game state, and then Garura is really good to send off of like an Ultimate Slayer, or just use a Super Poly target, or you can just hard make this with like a Poly, and it's a pretty value card. I like it a lot. And then to round it off for the extra deck, we're playing 1 copy of Chimera to just make off branded in red. The card is just gives you tons of value, makes it very difficult for your opponent to play. And then 1 copy of Striker Dragon, because we play Ultimate Slayer in the side deck, so we can send this card as our link monster. But we can also, if we open really weird, we can normal summon Albaz and use this card. Normal summon Albaz, make this card. If we open branded in red, we can use this card and the Albaz in the graveyard to make the Mirror Jade. So it's something you can do in a pinch if you're forced to go first, but mostly just in there for the Ultimate Slayer. For the side deck, 1 copy of the Comedy for back row decks. I can't really remember the last time I played against a back row deck, because they kind of suck, to be honest. Then for Flunder, it is one matchup where we will opt to go first. So Banshee and Zombie World, obviously really great to play against that deck. The Scythe Lock for when we go first. Then we play 2 Summon Limit and 2 Judgment. So I just wanted to be able to play, like when I do want to go first, like 6 cards. So obviously against like normal decks, I'll side in these, and then against Flunder, I'll side in these. So like I have some power cards to go first because we side out the Dark Rulers, side out the Lightning Storms when we go first. And you know, that's kind of the way it goes. So then we play for just back row, you know, Cosmic, Reboot, just broken. 1 Droplet for when we go second against Scythe decks. And then to round it off, we play 3 copies of Ultimate Slayer for the Tier Limit matchup and the Sprite matchup, because against Sprite, it's not like you want to play an Xyz monster because you can't target the Toad that they make, so why not just play Striker Dragon to send the Sprite Elf back to the extra deck? And then obviously against Tier Elements, this card is, we have so many good fusion monsters to send with this card, so I like it a lot, even though it didn't come up today. So Ultimate Slayer is definitely a card that I want to continue to try building decks around, just because I love the concept of this card so much. But yeah, that's really it for the deck profile. I don't know, the whole like Scythe lock thing just didn't really work out for me today. I put it in once, but I bricked. It's a small sample size, but I don't know if I'm going to continue to play it or just play a cross out package instead. But yeah, that is going to be it for the deck profile, guys. I really hope you enjoyed that. Definitely give this deck a try. Despia is not dead, contrary to what you might have heard. Definitely can compete with this deck. So with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. But with that, I am going to leave you with a peace out. Have a nice day. Goodbye.